Hey, Peter Conti here. Thanks for joining me. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go through a quick overview of how to invest in commercial properties during today's uncertain times. I'm going to go through these 5 topics right here. This is going to be very big picture. I'm going to simplify things down. Once you get to know me, once you get involved with working with me, you'll learn all of this in much greater detail. But what I want to do in this video is just to give you a big, broad picture of how we're able to go out and buy properties, profiting because of the uncertainty, but also making sure that you understand we're in this to create win-win deals that everyone can feel good about. We're not going to take unfair advantage of anyone during these uncertain times. We're going to help them out of situations that they've gotten into or where they're scared. We're going to help them convert their property into a steady stream of cash flow, which is going to be good for you, the investor, good for the property owners, good for everyone involved. Okay, ready to get going here? First thing I want to talk about is how to value commercial properties. You may already be familiar with this, but big picture is the value of a commercial property is determined by the income it brings in. It's called NOI, don't worry about that right now, divided by something known as a cap rate, gives us the value. Okay? So big picture again, what we're looking for, let's say we find a 20-unit property, and that 20-unit property, the market rents in that area are $18.50 per month. We find a property where, because the owner has owned it for a long time, maybe they just haven't kept up with the market or whatever, the rents are a little bit below current market rate. So instead of, on average, $18.50 per unit, all 20 units are only bringing in $1,800 per month in rent. Now, it doesn't sound like a very big difference, but let me show you what that means when you calculate the value on it. That's $50 per month times 20 units is $1,000 per month. That $1,000 per month, because we do our calculations on commercial properties annually, we're going to multiply it by 12 months to get $12,000 in additional income that property is going to bring in. When we take over the property, I'll get to that in a moment, we're going to increase the rents up to where they should be. It's not something someone's going to move out over $50. I know these are uncertain times. There's other issues to be aware of. I will get to the risk and how to control that in a moment as well. So we've got a property. We've sent out a 1-page letter that lets them know the rents are going up. Obviously, that's easier to do on a property where they're month-to-month and long-term leases. We've increased the rent $50 by 20 units to give us $1,000 per month. $1,000 over 12 months gives us an extra $12,000 in income for the property. And to calculate the value, we're going to take that $12,000 divided by 0.06. We'll use that as a cap rate. And what that works out to is we've increased the value of that property by $200,000, plus we're now getting an extra $12,000 per year in cash flow from where the property was when we first took it over. Make sense? That's a big picture of how we value properties and how you can wrap your arms around the idea of, if we can get a property, own that property using some creative methods I'll share with you in just a moment here. Do some very small little things. Obviously, we're going to want to increase the net operating income more than that, but if you do some small little things, the tremendous amount of money that you can make by putting something like that together. The target properties that we're looking for are properties, as already mentioned, where the rents are low is one of the easiest things to do. There's actually 8 different profit activators that I'll share with you, where you can learn how to reduce the expenses, increase the net operating income from a property, and each one of those 8 profit activators increases the value of the property dramatically. Number 3, rather than doing like most people do, going out and hoping to find all of their commercial properties through commercial brokers, we are going to focus on going directly to sellers. When you get involved working with me, I'll just also share some techniques with you as far as how when a property is listed with a broker, we can ethically and in a win-win way get the commercial broker to open up and allow us to connect directly with the seller to put a creative transaction together. I've done it thousands of times over the last 30 years, and I'm excited to share that with you when we get to that. But our focus is going to be on putting deals together directly with sellers. The reason for that is rather than buying conventionally where you need 20 or 30% down and have to go out and qualify for a new loan, I'm going to show you how to put together strategies using things like the commercial master lease. It's kind of like doing a lease purchase on a house, but doing it with an apartment building or other commercial property. I'm going to show you how to negotiate and structure owner carry deals where you get the owner to carry sometimes all or a large part of the financing back, and the advantages of doing that in today's uncertain marketplace. Other things like buying properties, leaving the existing financing in place, we'll get into as well. The fourth thing I want to share with you here in this quick video is how we manage the risk. Let's face it, it's crazy right now. Every day on the news, there's new stuff you're hearing about. There's so much uncertainty. No one knows what's going to happen. That is what creates the opportunity right now for buying properties. The stock market is tanked. People are just crazy, freaked out about what's going on. And let me tell you, we together as a people in this country, we are going to find a way to get through this. Is it going to be difficult? Yes. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yes. But all of that fear that's building up, that creates a tremendous opportunity for us to be able to put together deals much more rapidly, much more easily in a market like we have right now than we could have even 2 or 3 months ago. What we want to make sure of, though, is that we're not stepping into a situation where, let's say we bought, for example, with commercial properties, just to keep it simple, let's focus just on housing, just multi-unit apartments. There's a whole other categories in commercial. Office buildings are one that I think are going to take a tremendous hit. And again, that's a huge opportunity. When there's tremendous upset, there's also tremendous opportunity. But what we need to make sure is that we're not helping a seller out by taking on all of the risk that they're struggling with right now. And the way we do that is through the creative strategies that I mentioned. When we buy a property with a commercial master lease, that commercial master lease is structured where if things go bad, we simply stop making the payments on that lease. I mean, if we're not making enough money to make the payments, it's not something we're doing on purpose. But if we're not able to make those payments, that lease is structured where in the event we don't make the payments, then the seller steps back in and defeats that lease. It's kind of like if you were renting a house and you didn't pay the rent, then the owner of the property is going to get you out of the house and take the property back. Same thing on a bigger scale with a commercial master lease. We can do a very similar thing with owner carry financing, where we use something called non-recourse clause, which means that we're buying the property, the owner's carrying back the payments, the property is creating enough income to be able to make the payments on that property, so we're not having to come out of pocket to have this property that we own. But we manage the risk by structuring that loan where it's a non-recourse loan. If we're unable to make the payments, we can't make the payments, then the seller of the property is able to take the property back, but they have no recourse. We haven't signed personally on the loan. We haven't guaranteed anything. Worst case, if it doesn't work out, you've got some time, energy, and effort into the deal, and the seller gets the deal back. I hope that explains in a quick, big picture overview of how we're to manage the risk on these deals, because that's really critical as far as with what's going on right now. Number 5, why now? I think I've already touched base on a lot of that. I mean, with everything that's going on, I've been investing for over 30 years now, and I've never ever seen a better time to be using these strategies. I've used these strategies in good times. I've used them in bad times. I know from my experience sitting down and talking with sellers, putting these deals together, that during a time like this, it is just the very best time that I've ever seen in my 30 years of investing to be doing these deals. And that's why this group was put together, and I'm making this video for you right now. The other thing as far as right now is, right now it's pretty top of mind for everybody. All this stuff's going on, all this uncertainty. What are we going to do? We're going to make our way out of it. The truth is that you live with uncertainty every single day, whether you realize it or not. That became very clear to me 6 years ago when I was chugging along. I had, a big investing company, education company, was teaching thousands of students all across the country how to buy commercial properties, having a great time doing it. And then I was out riding my dirt bike motorcycle, hit a tree. I shouldn't have been doing that in my 50s, but I hit a tree, fell off, shattered my hip, dislocated my femur, and unfortunately they crushed the nerve in my leg when they were working on me in the hospital. Wow, you talk about something that really tickled. That was it. And I was in a tremendous amount of pain. I was actually on OxyContin painkillers for 1.5 years. Finally got off those. Was basically sitting around the house coming up on 2 years from my injury thinking, man, this thing is just killing me. I know I need to get out and do something, but I don't know what to do. I saw this movie called Wild where this gal hiked the Pacific Crest Trail on the west coast of the United States. That got me thinking. I read a couple books about people hiking the Appalachian Trail, and I decided that I was going to hike the entire Appalachian Trail all the way from Georgia to Maine. My goal originally was to try and do it in 1 year. I started in Georgia, and I was like walking with a cane at that point in time. I was pretty bad off. To give you an idea of that, the very first day that I hiked, I went a total of 2.5 miles. I really pushed myself along and learned a lot, had a lot of time to think. I guess the part I left out is that I sold my real estate investing company, my real estate education company, where I was teaching thousands of students all across the country. I sold that to a partner of mine so that I could just focus on getting well with my injury. I went out to hike the Appalachian Trail, right? My wife didn't even believe me when I first told her. And yet 3 weeks later, I went down and started. And I didn't make it all the way. I made it from Georgia up to Tennessee, and then I kind of crashed. I was just pushing, drove myself mentally and physically into the ground, ended up coming back home, resting up over the summer, went out, did a couple practice hikes that winter, and the following spring, I started back down there in Erwin, Tennessee at that same point that I'd stopped the year before at mile 318, and I started in again, and I made it all the way from Erwin, Tennessee, up to the top of Mount Katahdin in Maine, a total of 2,190 miles. Now, I share that with you because I want to make it clear that you never know when something may come up in your life where you need the resources like I had. Fortunately, I was in a situation where between my properties and other assets I had the ability to take a couple years off to just, go hike the Appalachian Trail and focus on my recovery. The other thing that I discovered, and what I wanted to point out, is stuff like that can happen all the time. Someone that you know can become ill, you need medicine for bills, you can be in a crisis like we are now. If you're working a job, you can get laid off. There's all kinds of things that can come up unexpectedly, not to mention the normal everyday things like, having a nice place to live, and if you want to drive a nice car, take your family, off on great vacations, go see the world and that type of thing when it becomes safe to do so. So what I realized when I was hiking along in the woods is that I had a lot of time to reflect about what a great life I've been blessed with. I mean, I started out as an auto mechanic, and it's real estate, in particular commercial real estate, that has just made such a huge difference in my life. And that's why I'm so excited to have you watching this video and here with me learning more about how to buy properties using creative strategies I'm going to be teaching you. The other thing I realized when I was walking along is I'd gotten too big. I had this big company. I had 35 employees working for me, 17 coaches on top of that. And I'd go to our annual conference and people would come up to me and they'd say, Peter, you changed my life. I bought this property, and let me show you a picture of this one, and I've got this office building over here, and I've got this apartment, and I felt like, it's hard to explain, but because I wasn't directly working with them, it felt weird to me. I felt a little bit like a phony. Like they were saying, Peter, you made all this difference, and I really didn't think I had done anything. Yeah, I created the systems, and my team and my coaches were teaching and sharing with these people. But what I realized when I was hiking along the trail is that I really missed out on the early days when I first started teaching 24 years ago. And at that point in time, it was me on the phone with people, teaching them how to get started, and having the excitement that comes right through when we're able to put a deal together and figure out commercial deals. That you don't just find a deal and look at the numbers and know it's a great deal. You're going to learn how to find what I call the deal within the deal. Anyways, I discovered while I was hiking that I had been missing out on a big part of helping people change their lives, which is really my passion. As I already mentioned, I feel tremendously blessed to have gone from where I was as an auto mechanic to be able to, do everything I have with all the different commercial properties all across the country. And I just feel really, really incredibly blessed with that. And my passion in this life is to reach out to you and to help you. Maybe you don't want to, own properties all across the country, but the cool thing with commercial properties is just one or two properties can make a tremendous difference. I mean, just this quick example I got right here, with an extra $200,000, would that make a difference for you in your life? I'd hazard a guess, if you're watching this video, that it probably would. Now, this isn't easy. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. If you're thinking that this is going to be just, push a button and sit back and watch the money come rolling in, some sort of get-rich-quick thing, this is not certainly that. If you're expecting that or that's what you're looking for, please go elsewhere, because that's not what I'm doing here. What I'm doing is sharing my 30-plus years of expertise to show you how to find, analyze, negotiate, and put in place these creative transactions where we can go out and grab as many commercial properties as we can during these uncertain times together, have a ton of fun, and yes, make a ton of money in the course of doing that. So thanks for watching this. If you're watching this, it means that you made it through the process to get to where you are in a group that I'm narrowing down. I left out one part. I'll share that with you here. What I've done over the past year and a half is I decided that I was just going to work with 3 to 4 people a year. I did that. My fees were tremendously high for 2 reasons. Number one, that helped me kind of self-select and make sure I was only working with people who were real go-getters, that were serious about doing whatever it took to succeed in life. Number two, it allowed me to give them the time and attention to go out and put deals together, buying commercial properties together, which is what I'm really excited about. I've decided, because of this current situation, that I'm going to expand things this year and take that from just 3 or 4 people up to a very small group of people. I need to limit that group because, number one, on Zoom, the video tool we use when we get together to talk, I mean, we're not going to do it in person right now with social distancing, right? There's only so many people I can fit on the Zoom account. And number two, in this group, you're going to be working directly with me. I will be your coach. I will be your guide. I will be your mentor. You will not ever get handed off to a coach or someone reading through a manual that doesn't know what they're talking about and has never invested in a property, which is how most of the gurus out there these days are doing things. I think that's insane, and I think it's a travesty that people are out there doing that. You'll be working directly with me. I will show you step by step every single part of the process, how to go out, find these deals, put them together. And as a part of what's going on right now, I'm going to show you how to do this where you're doing pretty much everything virtually, where you're not having to go out, you're not having to shake hands, you're not having to sit down and meet with people directly in person, which kind of makes this where it's a great way to learn how to invest from your laptop, like I've been doing for years and years myself. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I just kind of put this together real quick to give you a quick overview, and I want you to know that I'm very, very excited to be connecting with you and being able to reach out and help you not only overcome the current difficulties, but hopefully get to a point where you're able to go out and achieve and live the life of your dreams despite the uncertain times we're in. Thanks for watching.